They started taking me to church about 7 months before I was born.
Wow.
I would say 9, but I was 5 weeks early. So, so about 7 months before I was born, I started attending church.
5 weeks early, you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's not a big deal.
Roll the intro.
Hello? No, I know. No, don't worry about it. Season 4 starts right now.
Let's go!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Under the Influence. We're so glad that you're here with us. We love you very much. Special guest. Oh, I'm going to die. Special guest today is Brice Young.
Thank you for having me, guys.
It's kind of low energy. I'm sorry. I just kind of rolled right in.
Rolled into it.
I'll pick up the energy.
Yeah, bring it up.
Thank you.
No, you might recognize him. Well, his voice. He's been on the show before. I think that was back in season, what, 1, 2?
I think it was two. It was two because we were.
I think episode 5.
Because we were in the loft.
Whoa.
You just know
You
that?
just knew that? Oh, you're right. The loft came towards the end of season 1, right?
Yeah.
Or-
And then when we were recording around the table was season 2.
Ah, yes, the table.
Yeah.
The D&D table.
The D&D table.
Yeah, and I remember because Brice was like all the way on the other side of the table from me.
And he was like
guys
leaning
put me-
back,
you
had
put
the
me as
microphone
far
in
back
his
as
hand,
possible.
just like, all right, guys, so.
Yeah, that's how he looked. Yeah, totally.
Youngin.
So yeah, I remember that. It was interesting. Yeah, what a funny story, Levi. So glad they cut that out, though. So glad they cut that out. It's a good thing we cut it out too, because that was inappropriate, frankly.
What?
Levi, this is a Christian podcast.
This is a Christian podcast. Yeah, you can leave your conspiracy theories at the door.
You're no longer the voice of the radical.
Oh yeah, I forgot
the
about
voice
that.
of the radical anymore.
Brice is going to be constantly quoting to us things that we've said in the past that I don't remember.
That was so long ago.
I'm really impressed that you were like, yeah, it was season 2, episode 5.
Well, I just went back and listened to it.
Okay.
Again, about a month ago or so.
Just to listen to yourself speak again, or
Well, it was a funny episode.
Yeah,
So you
it
didn't
was.
retread any old
we
ground.
had some guy on there that was hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know who it
what
was.
who it was.
It was
but
not me.
Was Jude on that episode?
Jude was on that
I think
episode.
so.
I couldn't remember if that was one where it was just Levi and I don't think we really ever did any that
I
were
don't
just
think
us
so.
until this season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Byron's a flake.
Yeah. I
Those
guess
are fighting words.
Yeah.
You can cut that.
poor Byron. No, I forgot to mention, as you're noticing, Byron's obviously not here. We've had him gone for a lot of episodes, unfortunately.
segue.
He's been
right?
he's been really busy. He's ramping up to school. Last week he was on a trip, right? This
Yeah.
week, because it's like the very end of the little bit of summer he gets. But yeah, I was just talking to him the other day about how much school he's going to be doing, and it sounds disgusting. It's
Yeah.
like 50 class hours or something like that, and then a solid 20 or 30 hours outside of class.
And that's a day, right?
That's it.
Yeah, 50 hours a day and
Yeah.
20 more hours when he gets home.
Yeah,
A
somehow
day.
they managed to
Perfect,
fit that in. But no, it just sounds terrible. I feel bad for him. But he's on the road to...
Shrinking a
Recovery?
doctorate program down by a year will do that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's crazy that he's going to be a doctor.
I know.
Well-
it's wild. He will be a
Well,
doctor.
no, sorry.
What are you talking about?
I mean, like, he will... Yeah, he'll have title... He'll have his doctorate, his...
Yeah.
He's
know.
gonna show up and he's gonna be like, I am now Dr. Byron. That is what
He's
you will
told
call
me.
every day.
Yeah. He's told me, like... in some conversations, I'll be like, you're one of my best friends, right? I'm like, oh, thanks, man. Yeah, you too. And then another conversation, he'll be like, you have to call me doctor when I'm a doctor. I'm like, those two things kind of don't go together. No, you need to call me doctor.
So the whole
Best
joke,
doctor friend.
Yeah.
the whole joke where you go like doctor, doctor,
Yeah.
doctor, doctor,
Yeah.
that's not going to work anymore because somebody's going to say doctor to him and then he's not going to say anything back because he's already a doctor.
Because he's
doesn't
too
want to
elite.
disparage
He's like, I'm not
the
gonna-
name.
Yeah, I can't
I can't
call
you guys
solely the title
what
of
I am.
doctor by calling you a doctor. Yeah, no, it is a crazy program, but good for him. No, he's got it sounds like he's like a year and a half left, and he's
Yeah.
done.
And
He's a
then
physical therapist,
yep.
and he can go and he can
Leave us all behind.
leave us all behind and travel the world and massage people for a living. Well, there's some more to
He's
it.
not. I was like, he's not a massage therapist.
Well, this
he's like, give me your leg.
and you're fixed. No, it's impressive. I don't envy him. He was telling me just about how much of like, what do they call, clinicals or whatever he has to do, and just how
Yeah.
difficult. And I was like, dude, I don't envy you at all. You know, that's why I did 2 terms of college and stopped. It doesn't sound like fun at all. But yeah, so Byron's not here. Long way of saying he's not here, and we're sorry. But he's supposed to be back for our finale episode.
Yes.
So our right before the finale, that one, and then the finale, he should be here. So that'll be good. But to kick things off, to kind of refamiliarize ourselves here with conversation. Because Brice, you know, like you said, for you, it's been years since you've been here. So you probably don't even remember how to have a conversation, right? I don't, and it's only been 2 weeks.
I don't remember how to have a conversation with friends. I only know how to have a conversation at work.
Oh, dang.
So
Not
like,
even with your wife.
yeah, I was gonna say,
Unfortunately, we didn't have much conversation recently. She just finished schooling as well for this year. She's trying to get into the dental hygiene program.
oh,
She's on the wait list. Hopefully she gets in. But she just finished up her last prerequisite that she had to take. So
nice.
conversations we'll be having very soon with her.
Yeah,
since we have time.
yeah, yeah, dude. I mean, you guys have kids and both work, like that whole thing. Like Perry and I are different, but I've just noticed like it's just already feels so difficult just to be like trying and to find times to sit down and have like the meaningful, important conversations sometimes that we need to have, like as husband and wife.
We've never been like you guys. We've never been empty nesters.
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So, because my wife was previously married, so
Yeah.
so she has 2 kids from a previous marriage. So when I got into the relationship, I was learning to become a boyfriend and a parent at the same time.
Yeah.
So it was.
It's like Jarrett.
Yeah.
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 Like we had Jared on recently, you know, and you know Jarrett. Like he married into having 2 kids. But like what?
I thought there's 3.
There's 2.
No, there's 2.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not gonna say their names on air,
Yeah,
I guess,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah,
I don't
just
know-
2.
I don't know
Boy and
why.
a girl.
I don't know why I thought there was a boy and 2 girls.
Unless you know something that we don't. Have they not announced something, but they just called you?
Oh, no, cut.
Yeah, no, he's talked about, and I was, I don't think I was living with him when they started dating, but might have
I
been.
mean, when they had first started dating, right?
I think so, but like it was just something that he talked about a lot. That was like, this is really interesting because he's like, well, if I'm dating her, you know, the goal is to get married someday. He's like, so I have to look at these kids like these could be my kids someday, right? Like he's like, that's such an interest. And I've often wondered, like, man, I never considered myself being in a relationship like that. Not like I was like, I won't ever. I just never thought about it. And I think that's got to be so interesting, like
It was.
marrying into that situation.
It's definitely interesting. It's definitely challenging.
I bet.
yeah.
You just gotta. I mean, there's a lot of hurdles that you gotta work through with yourself. And I
Right.
mean, I wasn't ready to be a parent when I started dating. I had to instantly become ready, and that's hard. But yeah, no, definitely a lot of challenges, a lot of hurdles, and I'm glad I stuck through it. And
Yeah. No, that's awesome though. It's cool. It's cool. Like if like being a dad is something you always wanted, it's like, sweet, I got to jump
100%.
straight into being a dad. Like that's super cool.
100%.
But yeah, no, I've never heard anyone use the term empty nesters for newly. I've only ever heard it as like
After
afterward, like when your kids leave the house. But
Yeah, that's usually when it's used. But
yeah, but so when you said that, I was like, what? Oh, right.
oh yeah,
Yes, newlyweds without children.
yeah.
But no, very soon. I've purposely got my phone not on silent just in case she calls me today. But because we're getting close.
yeah.
How many weeks is she?
She's today 36.
Okay, yeah.
So what? 35. Excuse me.
Yeah, she's 35
35
today,
weeks.
'cause she
Because
was
yesterday
34
she said
yesterday.
34.
Yeah.
I thought she said yesterday she was 35. Today's 36. But no, today's 35 weeks. But every day we're just kind of like,
Could it be?
could it be today? Even though we're technically 5 weeks from the full term thing, whatever. It's just.
Do you have your bags packed sitting
Nope.
by the door? Might want to go home and do
I know
that right now.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was readily apparent this week when we were like, technically this could happen any day, right? Yeah, I guess good. We should probably have bags ready. Like this week, I officially got the car seat in the car and everything, and then realized that I had to like put it together. Like the actual car seat part itself wasn't put together because we inherited a hand-me-down from Jacob and Celeste. And so I was like, I should probably put that together because it doesn't no good if we get there and all the buckles aren't attached.
Right? Yeah. How do I put my kid in this thing?
Yeah, and especially because they'll check.
They'll check.
They
it,
always
yeah.
check, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's an interesting topic. Maybe we'll have to talk about it later or something because I'm getting real close, and every day I freak out a little bit more. So
It's definitely nerve-wracking.
yeah.
I got a call at work one day. My wife's like, "Hey, I'm going to the hospital. I don't know if you want to come in." And I was like, yeah."
Because she was going into labor?
Well, yeah, it ended up being Braxton Hicks.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm going. This is my child. I'm not gonna miss.
It'd be nice if you were there. I should probably finish my shift, honey.
Well, 'cause she's like, I don't know if it's really anything.
Yeah, that makes
and
sense.
And I get it, And she didn't want me to go there and it not be anything, but I didn't want to.
Not be
go.
there, and it was something.
Well, I didn't want to not be there.
Yeah.
My job as the husband,
Oh, yeah.
and the parent is to take care of my kids, my wife.
Yeah. Good point.
So I wasn't not gonna not be there.
No, that's a great point. I mean, because even if it wasn't, like you still want to have been there. And
Yeah.
that's something we've been, like the Braxton Hicks thing. Every now and then it's like this one is.
Don't ask me how you know the difference because I don't know. I didn't experience it.
I mean, I don't think we know.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think if I'm trying to be careful how much I talk about it without. I don't know if Peril will be like, "Oh, I wish you hadn't said that," because it's embarrassing,
Yeah.
So, but like, yeah, we don't really know what we're getting
show
into.
her the
either.
episode, and she'll be like, "No, cut that.
Cut that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just take my name out of it.
Yeah.
Who are they going to think I'm talking about? To kick things off, apparently we don't need help starting conversation. To kick things off, real quick, everyone always thinks that they'd be royalty or a knight or something interesting, right? Or they want to be something interesting if they lived during medieval times. But let's be honest, you probably wouldn't be. So, if we lived in medieval times, what kind of peasant do you think you'd be if you had been born then? Or we could change this. We can instead each pick a person and say what kind of peasant, but that could be a little bit insulting. Be like, I think Levi would be because we all know there is a correct answer here for Levi.
What?
Oh yeah.
What is that supposed to mean?
He means that there's a correct answer for you specifically, not
Yeah.
us, but for you specifically.
Thank you for clarifying that, Brice. Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
no
that's what
worries.
I
I
got.
mean, I understood that part of it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, then why'd you ask?
Why'd you ask? Seem so confused.
No, but why is
Levi,
that the
you're
case?
forgetting podcast history.
Wait, have I already discussed
There's a
this?
historical answer according to the podcast library early on.
You'd be the voice of the radical peasants.
No, the voice of the radical medieval. Yeah, no, even further back than that. We're talking early days of the podcast.
That was
kid.
like first episode when I'm the voice of the radical.
Yeah. So before that, before it was ever
I thought that-
recorded,
Before we're even recording.
I thought that was the first episode of the second season where we said you were.
That was the very first episode.
So
We're
then
introducing
never
all of
mind.
ourselves, and I'm like, I'm the voice of the radical American.
I didn't realize that.
So
yeah.
basically what he's saying is before the podcast started, when you guys were talking about becoming professional podcasters.
Yeah. Well, no, I was mistaken.
I don't
It's
remember our
first season.
conversations that were being recorded without my knowledge that weren't ever set out, except to Brice.
I have a lot of those. Yeah, back in the day, you and I used to talk, and I'd send them to Brice. Be like, "Can you analyze this conversation for me?" It was so weird. You're just like, okay, 2-hour conversation.
Well,
Here we
we're
go.
at the doghouse. I come down. You're like making all like, oh yeah, and then like the moment I walk away, you're just like, dude, this guy said this random crazy thing.
You really thought I was grilling on that grill? I just had the conversations, flipping them over, turning pages.
Turning pages. Oh, it's like a phone book of conversations. Yeah. So for those that may not know, we've talked about that ballpark that Levi and I worked at a lot when Jarrett was on. We talked about how he worked there too. Brice also worked there. Many of you who are longtime listeners should know that already because of his previous episode. But just to remind you, and if you didn't know, the volcanoes, Brice worked there with us back in the day. And the doghouse,
I was the volcano.
he was the volcano. Yeah, he walked around in this big paper mache costume of volcano. Had to send baking soda.
And he would start all the fires, you know?
He'd start fires. Yeah, technically.
Go out and shoot the fireworks out of my head.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, they did regular fireworks shows. That would be terrifying. Probably dangerous.
I probably would not have done that.
Yeah. Well, no, when he says doghouse is one of the stands. It was the name of one of the concession stands. It was the one that had like hot dogs, obviously, but had the like foot-long kielbasa sausages
And all the toppings for all that stuff.
some like, which means like peppers and cheese, basically, like peppers,
Onions?
cheese, and onions.
Yeah.
Wasn't that all mixed together?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the peppers and onions were mixed together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would cook that and then I would bring it down to him.
Yeah.
And then I would hang out down there because even though it was
'Cause
like
that was
100
cool?
degrees outside, it was 120 in the kitchen.
Whenever
So I would
Jerry
just
was
hang
like,
out down there. And it was great because you're wonderful to be around.
Oh, well, thanks. You
And-
don't have to say that for the podcast, though.
Okay.
Whenever Jerry's like, hey, can you go help Levi in the kitchen? I'm like, I don't really feel like dying today, but
Yeah.
sure, let's go for it.
Or you'd be like, weird, Levi's already down here. Levi, you should probably get in the kitchen. Get upstairs. Everyone thinks, the be
yeah.
royalty.
Yeah,
night,
yeah,
blah,
what
blah,
kind of
blah.
peasant? What
I
kind of
don't think I'd be royalty. I know what it'll be. So,
I know
I think I'm just kidding.
But no, Brice, last time we had you on, we talked, I think we just mostly talked about like how we knew you, where we knew you from. Like we talked a little bit about your church and how you're involved, and specifically with your dad. And that was, I think, a really good time. I do agree with you earlier. I think it was a good episode, or when you said that earlier. But we have kind of a new format with guests, and people already know this, but like we're trying to, especially if they're guests that we know, we're trying to find ways to help the viewer and the listener, right, get to know you better, right? So we've got some opportunities for that, but also it's been really interesting to see how even the people that we do know pretty well, just kind of talking to them about these things, like we end up walking away and being like, I know them better now too, and
Yeah.
it's been I've enjoyed it. So, but we talked about your wife a little bit earlier, and that you're married.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the story there? Like, how did you guys? And I don't know this, so this will be fun to find out. How did you meet and end up marrying your spouse?
So she actually came to visit our church. It was her, our oldest daughter. At the time, it wasn't our
Right.
daughter, but her and her daughter and her mom, and then the lady she caregivers for, came to visit our church.
Oh, cool.
Easter Sunday one year. And then she just kept coming back to church, and then I got to become friends with her, and got to be there for her whenever she was pregnant. My mom and I actually planned the gender reveal party for our daughter.
Yeah.
I give my wife a hard time about it. I'm like, how do you feel knowing that I knew that we had a daughter before you knew we had a daughter? But it wasn't our daughter at that point.
Yeah. Wait. How did that? So at the time, were you planning like, I'm going to try and marry this woman?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. But her and her ex-husband had been rocky quite a bit of their marriage and stuff. And so she actually ended up falling down the stairs while she was 7 months pregnant and
Oh, my
breaking
goodness.
her ankle. So
That's terrifying.
Yeah. She needed help setting up the house for the baby. So I was helping her with that. And then our friendship just grew from there. And then we ended up getting engaged. She picked out her wedding ring before we got engaged.
Whoa, that's cool.
But we had talked about marriage and stuff before that.
Oh, yeah.
So, we went down one day. It was like the day before Black Friday because I had to work Black Friday. So we went down to,
Missing the deals by that much.
well, we got the deal.
Oh, okay.
They helped us out.
Nice.
She picked out a ring, and then they're like, okay, we'll just process everything tomorrow. So you get the deal.
Nice.
I was
That's
like,
so
perfect.
cool.
And then we went to eat, and I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Went back to the jewelry store, and I was like, add this. This is gonna be an engagement ring. They're like, perfect, done.
Nice.
And then I think I mentioned to you at one point after you told your engagement story that I had a similar one in a way.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a case of, I know I want to marry this woman. I know I want to get engaged to her. How do I do it, and when do I do it?
Yeah. Stressful.
It is. And we were having our Christmas party that we throw every year. And I really wanted, sorry.
No, you're good.
I really wanted my best friend to be there. He unfortunately wasn't able to make it up. So I was like, okay, I don't know when we're going to be able to meet, with him so that he can be there for this moment for me. So I just was like, okay, I guess we'll do it today. And so my mom actually had to go over to my house to get the wedding ring or the engagement ring. I like texted her and I was like, hey, can you grab the ring? I'm going to propose tonight. Here's where it's at.
That's great.
So she went into my house, got it for me.
She had to feel very special, though.
Oh, I'm sure
loved
she
it.
did.
Yeah.
I'm sure she did.
For a mom, too. Like, she's like,
Yeah.
that's got to be great.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I can honestly say that my wife and I are probably one of, if not the only people that met, got engaged and married all in the same building.
Well, yeah, that's definitely not true of me. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we met at church. We got engaged at church.
That's cool.
And then we used our church for our venue.
Oh, so it was like a church Christmas party.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was my wife and I throw a Christmas party every year.
Okay, got
Our
it.
house is too small for everybody, so we
Right.
do it at the church.
Okay, gotcha.
That's
gotcha,
so
gotcha.
cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool. That is really cool.
Do you
I
still
wonder.
go to that church?
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Nice. Based.
You gotta
gotta
stay
get-
up with the lingo.
Yeah.
I think
forgot.
that's out of.
Make sure.
Is it out now? I hear people use it still. Mostly on the internet though.
All right.
Not in person.
I don't know.
I've never heard a single kid use it when I've been like teaching.
Have you heard a kid that's been dating use it?
Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever heard a kid use it. Period. So I wasn't
Because
saying it's
I remember when they did use it, like the high
kids?
schoolers.
The high
Like-
schoolers?
Like I remember when high schoolers were saying
Whoa.
it, and then
I've
they've
never heard
not
kids use it.
said
I've only heard like people our age use it, like legitimately use it.
Yeah.
To say based. I hear it online mostly, like talking to people on Christian influence and stuff. But okay, this just doesn't matter. No, that's super cool. I think in some ways I noticed like with my engagement story, it was similar, being like I wanted all of the moving pieces to kind of be perfect, and then I was like, eventually like. All of these things can't happen, you know? Like I can't have this person involved and this thing and do it this way and all that stuff. And then I was like, if I keep trying to do that, I think it's just going to cause me to keep waiting and keep waiting. So then it ended up being like, I'm doing it this weekend, you know?
Well, and it was cool too because like a lot of our friends,
Oh, yeah.
her friends, and I mean they're my friends too, but they started out as her friends, obviously,
Right.
you know. But a lot of her friends were there. My mom and dad were there, which was important too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So it was.
and
Just,
she just couldn't say no in front of all those people.
it's another reason. Just put her on the spot in front of hundreds
Yeah.
and thousands of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've
So you know,
I've
Levi,
heard people
like,
say,
take advice, write this down.
I've heard people say like, ask someone to marry you in front of a bunch of people because then they can't say no, which I think is crazy. Like
that's terrible.
yeah, that's terrible. But like also like I've
Because they
heard
could
people
still say no.
Because
And
they
I'm
can
not-
still say no, but then it just looks worse on them, and then you get some.
and you feel worse. Like
You're
well,
like at a baseball
sure.
game. You'll get a bunch of free hot dogs and
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
hey,
yeah.
buddy, it's okay.
It's all right. Dude.
drown your
Here's a hot-
sorrows in this nachos or you know whatever.
nachos and processed meat tubes.
Yeah.
I feel fine now. Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's such a cool way. I'm like getting to do it in front of family. I proposed, you know, in front of nobody. It was
And
just her and
there's
I.
nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, I chose to do it in front of people.
Yeah.
There's really no right way or wrong way to do it.
Yeah, I
As
think,
long as they say yes.
Yeah.
well,
Well, that's not up to you.
yeah. I think the
Well, no,
right-
but like it like then you just didn't read the room, you know.
Yeah.
I think if there is a right or wrong way, it just depends on the person too.
Yeah.
Like some people, like I did consider it because there was a time when I was in high school, I would daydream about getting married someday and how will I, you know, propose and all this stuff. And I had ideas, and one of them was like crazy, like in front of a bunch of people, like man, you know, and it sounds cool because then like people can cheer and
Yeah.
be excited. But then, you know, I know for a fact, I knew like when dating Perry and considering, it's like that is not something that she would appreciate.
No.
She would not appreciate being in front of a bunch of people. Like even
just-
if she wants, you know she's gonna say yes.
Yeah.
Like the pressure of it being in front, like, and I totally get that. I don't think I would want that either. Like
She does not seem like the type of person that likes to be the center of attention.
no, not at
And
all.
that is what she would be in that moment.
yeah,
Yeah.
Everyone's literally looking at her like, what are you gonna say?
Even at the wedding, it was about her, not about you.
yeah, agreed.
You
No,
know.
we talked about that, and she'd be like,
Yeah. She's like,
Yeah.
shut up.
yeah. We were just
I'm
talking
gonna call this
yesterday.
off. No, it wasn't.
We were just talking yesterday about like, you know, what if your water breaks at church or something? And she's like, what a nightmare. Like, what a nightmare. I was like, yeah. But then people like, I could get up and be like, guys, pray for us. We're on our way out. And she's like, no, if that happens, you cannot say that.
We
Because
just have to get up and
attention.
go.
Everybody,
Yeah.
please do not pray for us. We're gonna leave.
No,
Is
I
that
was
what
like,
you want, Perry?
But usually we sit like right in the front, you
Yeah.
know, and Matt is right there preaching. So he would,
Matt
like,
would
there's
be like,
no,
Matt would say something.
I'm gonna have to tell Matt ahead of time, like you're not allowed to call us out,
Yeah.
like because it'll be worse. Because we're gonna be sitting there, and it's gonna be obvious if I'm like, because I'm gonna obviously be like a little bit, you know. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna be like. Sorry for the audio listener. I was mimicking myself, or you know, just silently walking away. That's probably just dead air. You know, like. I'm gonna be kind of frantic, and
But
like,
now
okay,
you're
let's get up.
taking away the happiness from Matt to be able to point it out. And
We're taking away the happiness.
yeah. The overall happiness, because do you know how happy people would be in
Is it about their happiness?
church? I'm just saying the overall happiness in the world.
Is it about the happiness in the world?
They'll find out in a few weeks when they bring the baby. It's fine.
Yeah. We'll bring the baby to church and people will be like, we don't care. It's fine.
We weren't there when it happened, so
Yeah.
just take it away.
You should have just done it here at church.
Dude, I've heard a story of someone where like water broke while in church and they're like, okay, we don't want to get up because it'd be embarrassing.
You guys live stream your services too, right?
We do.
Yeah.
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 And we sit in the front, so when I stand up, you can see me in the live stream. But no, they were. Oh man, that would be terrible. But no,
I'm just thinking like Matt's up there preaching and he just keeps going and all of a sudden you say, yeah.
and I'm like
the baby.
Yeah.
Circle of life.
The circle of
Is
life.
there a doctor in the house?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I don't have a choice. I have to cut the umbilical cord. Yeah. They. No. This person was like sitting in church and like they were embarrassed and they didn't want to get up. And the baby ended up just because it was not their first one, so it was very quick. And the baby just ended up being born in church. And then they're like, "This is way worse."
What a great way to enter the world.
I won't
you know?
say who that was, but
Do you know them?
no, I have no idea. Who that was.
Okay.
It's just someone on a podcast.
I'm like, what?
That's beside the point.
That doesn't matter, Mom. But you know, no, just kidding.
That would be wild.
No,
Sorry, Jude.
yeah,
Jude was just born in
Jude.
church.
No. My mom has talked about though how Julia was like very, very quick. Like she was like, I'm going to labor. They raced to the hospital and they're like, okay, we're going to put you, start you on these exercise or whatever. Right. And then she's like, no, get me on the table. Julia's about to be born. And they're like, no, it should be a little faster or a little slower than that. And they're like, no, it's happening right now. Like, and
She's just standing up and Julia bounces off the ground.
oh yeah,
I told you.
Somebody get her. Like,
Why did the bungee cord not work?
oh my goodness.
Shameless plug. If you don't know what Patreon is, you can get bonus episodes. Sorry. This
Clips?
is clips. Yeah, not episodes. Clips.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's not my job.
No, yeah. Good point.
Oh, go for it.
I haven't plugged it for a long time. Patreon.com/Christian Influence. We just had a bonus clip come out yesterday. And it was Byron talking to us and Hunter Hoover about how often you should actually pee.
Oh,
And
did
if
that
it's-
get cut out of the regular episode?
It did, yeah.
Wow.
And so
Way to watch your own podcast.
Dude, I'm here for it.
yeah,
So,
I
he
lived
lives
it.
so you're helping views. Like,
That's true.
Like,
I
comment,
always
subscribe.
go on there and just let it run so that it gets at least one view of full watch time.
Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe. It'll help.
Yep, it helps. It does help. That some of our first episodes are where we were all going and like commenting on it, and those ones got like 500-600 views or whatever, and now they get back their normal amount.
It helps the algorithm.
It does. Yeah, we have one YouTube short that got like 2,000 views, and it's the one where Hunter Hoover is like talking about. Yeah, sometimes I'll just grab a popcorn bucket out of the trash, take it over there, the free refill or whatever. And so he's like, so I'm trashy. And someone commented, they're like, that's not trashy. Trashy would be if you took the popcorn bucket and used it for a free refill of soda. It's so funny. But okay, cool. So you're married. That's a great story about how you guys met. I think it's what I remember thinking about, like what I wanted in marriage someday, and I would focus a lot about like the story of how we met, and like I wanted this storybook kind of thing. That's such a cute like storybook story too, like how you met and got engaged and married all in the same building. Was it all in the same room?
No, we met and got engaged in the foyer,
That makes sense.
and then we got married in the sanctuary.
Obviously, we got married in the
Now,
foyer.
our reception was in the foyer. Does that count?
That counts.
Perfect.
Part of the
wedding.
Part of the wedding,
Wow. Yeah, I bet even fewer people can say that.
Probably.
Most of it in the same room.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, Perry and I definitely can't. We met. Man, I'm having a hard time today. We met when we were like 7 in a totally different church.
I don't know why I thought you guys met in school when you were.
Because we were both homeschooled.
Oh, okay, see, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I was homeschooled until freshman year, and then I went to WVCS.
Okay.
But she was homeschooled all the way through.
That's good
Okay.
of you.
Yeah.
Calling him out for being able to tell that he was homeschooled.
Yeah. But we met when we were really young at it's not there anymore. Now it's a different church. It was called North Salem Baptist Church. And the church is there. It's just some other church. And we were really young. And then that's why, our parents were always like, you guys are going to get married someday. And we're like, ugh.
Marriage? That's gross.
Yeah, I'm 8. What? And then she would chase me around the church and beat me up with her bag, like with her Bible and stuff in it.
Aw.
And I was at one point in our life when I was legitimately terrified.
Terrified?
Of her. Yeah, like this is a girl who's gonna kill me. Like sometimes I'd
Now
walk
you're
around the
still
corner.
terrified of her. It's just a completely different
Totally
fight.
different reason. Yeah, totally different reason. But no, I would turn the corner. I'd see her, and I'd see her friend Cambria, and I'd be like, and then she'd be like, and I just remember like I have memories of running through the hallway, just being chased for my life, and being beaten over the head with a bag of books. But no, we do though. It's kind of cool. Celeste, her sister, painted like this cool, like I don't know what kind of painting it is. It might I can't think. It might just be watercolor, but it looks really really interesting. This painting of that church building where we first met. Like that was I think it was our engagement gift from them or a wedding gift or something like that.
That's pretty cool.
And yeah, it was really cool. Like she opened it and we're like, oh, this is a pretty. Oh, it's that church because like they had very distinct like stained glass windows.
There's a pic. Perry's in the back just swinging a book bag.
That would have been great. Yeah, if you could get that level of detail with watercolor, like, yeah, no, it was cool. But no, I just was bringing that up to say like we definitely didn't because that church when we were like 7 years old is technically where we met. So it would have been crazy if I had been. It would have been kind of cool though if I brought her back there to propose and then we had got married.
No,
there,
but then you're just
didn't.
having PTSD like flashbacks. You see her walking down
During
the
the
aisle.
wedding. Yeah.
You're like, Perry, I love you. Will you please keep? Or no, don't swing book bags at me
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah. But I do think that's the church that when her mom got remarried, which I remember going to that wedding. That's I think the church her mom got. Yeah, because that's where we were going to church. Her mom got married in that church, so it would have been kind of cool.
That's kinda cool.
I never even crossed my mind, but
Yeah.
Oh well, we're already married. Can't redo it. No, I loved our wedding. We got married.
It was a beautiful wedding.
It was a pretty place.
it was-
It was a beautiful wedding. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could have seen it. That's a great story. Yeah.
So
Yeah, thank you.
you've got a few kids. How many kids do you have?
3.
3? All right. So, and you're married. You don't get much free time, I'm betting, because you're also working.
Yes,
But
that is correct.
do you ever play video games or anything when you get time? Or do you have like a favorite video game that you go back to?
I don't have one that I go back and play anymore. Mostly because I don't have Xbox Game Pass Live, whatever it's called nowadays. But I do play games occasionally. It's a lot of Fortnite with my daughter.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, it's cool. I like playing games with her. Last night we tried to play the new Fortnite season, which I think you might like because
Really?
it's all like Marvel themed.
Oh.
The entire battle pass is like
cool.
Marvel, X-Men, things like that.
That's cool.
Yeah. But we tried playing that together last night. It was being weird. I don't know what was going on. But so I play a lot of Fortnite with her. I will play some sports games occasionally. But yeah, most of my gaming is Fortnite or sports games.
Levi, I think when we've asked this question to people, like, because we obviously asked this question because Christian Influence, originally started so much of it being gaming oriented ministry. And it's been cool to see kind of somewhat of a bell curve. Like at one point we were like, gaming seems to be not as much of a part of it. Like we're impacting people other ways. And then lately it's kind of full circle. And it's like, okay, gaming really does matter if it's used correctly. And it's interesting to hear like what part of people's life gaming plays. But when we've asked this question, often we've gotten a response that is sports video games. And we've made a statement in the past where we've been like, you're not a real gamer. Sports video games, okay. Kind of jokingly. But I feel so stupid because like it's been like 4 or 5 times where the answer has been like, yeah, I really like NBA, this. And I'm like,
yeah.
Maybe we aren't real gamers because we don't even give them a shot.
For me, sports.
I've given them a shot. I don't like it.
Yeah, me too.
Sports was a big part of my life.
Yeah.
Growing up, I played sports constantly. Now I don't play. I coach. My kids are into soccer and basketball.
Nice.
So we get the privilege of coaching them, which is fun. I love coaching. So I took my love for sports and my love for gaming and just kind of combined them.
There you go. Yeah. It seems like most people that like the sports games are people that either really enjoyed playing the sport at some point or really enjoy watching the sport because then you get like to experience the sport in a different way. Like if you enjoy the game itself too, like because I'm somebody that I do really like the concept of game design, right? Like coming up with like why games work the way they do, even if that game is like a sport, right? And so if that's something that interests you too, I would imagine like playing that in a video game form would be fun.
Like for me, like NBA 2K, you get to make your own player and have your own career.
That's cool.
So like I'm in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like
I remember when the first time I saw the MLB The Show, that game came out, I was like, oh, that's the coolest thing. I did think that was really cool. And I wanted to play it because it was like you can have your own player and like you can play a whole career. And I thought that was interesting.
That's what I've been playing a little bit recently.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it actually fun?
Yeah,
the show?
I enjoy it.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, because you start out like in the minor leagues.
Yeah, that's
And
cool to
you
me.
have to
Oh,
work
that's actually cooler.
Yeah, and then you work your way up. You have to like go to practice, and you can like hone your skills, and like there's different. Obviously, like you can be like a contact hitter or a power hitter, and depending on like which button you push is which swing, and then you get points for that swing if you get a hit or if it's like a hard hit or whatever, different things like that. So
That's cool.
yeah.
That's probably I probably only think that's cool because the only sport really that I actually find interesting, which is funny because most people find it to be so boring, is baseball. I like baseball, but I like playing it.
I used to find it boring on TV, and then they've changed the rules.
Now they can
And-
punch each other and stuff.
I wish.
Could you imagine?
It's not the UFC or hockey.
Yeah.
But no, they changed the rules to speed up the game, so it's not as bad anymore.
Did they?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they have a pitch clock, so like in between every pitch, you only have 20 seconds.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And if the batter's not ready,
That's huge.
huge. If the batter's not ready at a certain time, it's an automatic strike. If the pitcher hasn't started their windup when that clock hits 0, automatic ball.
Wow, that is smart.
So it speeds up the game.
Yeah, that is really smart because the number of times where I remember working at that ballpark, and then sometimes we'd when you're working, you really are counting the clock too.
Yeah.
Like, and there'd be games where it's like, I think this has been 4 hours.
Yeah.
Like, because they take their
didn't,
sweet time.
I didn't mind those games. More bigger paycheck.
Bigger paycheck. Yeah. No, I agree. But like,
I remember when we would
sometimes-
get off early and we'd be like, oh yeah, we get to sit down. Everybody's still here. Let's grab a hot dog. Let's sit down and watch the game. And then we're like,
why is this taking so long?
they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. And I bet it yeah, that's kind of interesting. Like now I think about like the meta game, right? Which probably is just what would be better to call just coaching in that. But like coaches now have to consider, am I putting players or training my players to be ready to be able to do things like consistent? Like you don't have time to rest. Like it's a different kind of like, it's a different game now. Like that's actually pretty interesting. That's cool. Is that in the video game? Like do you have a certain amount of time?
I don't have the newest one, so I don't know.
I wonder if that'll like find its way in. That's interesting. It should, yeah. Because it's supposed to be.
It's part of the game. You want to make it realistic.
That's cool. I haven't heard of people patching sports. Patch notes. You only have 20 seconds now. Like,
Yeah.
how often do they change rules? That's just like for the league, like to play at that level?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they have a summer meeting. I don't know exactly what they call it every year. And then there's different rule changes that get pitched.
See what you did there.
That get brought up.
We just gotta see which ones catch.
Yeah. Which ones get a home run and which ones don't.
Yeah. That one is not a home run, buddy. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a strikeout.
That's a strikeout.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how they determine. They have a big wall and they're like, these ideas, absolute strikeouts.
Yeah.
These ones
Can
should
you
have stayed
imagine
in
the
gut
guys
out.
in the meeting and like because there are so many like business terms that are just based on sports.
Yeah.
So then they're sitting there.
inside baseball?
Yeah. and they like say anything and then they're just like, oh.
Yeah.
And then everybody else is like, ah! And
Yeah.
then they say like 2 more sentences like, ah!
And then you have the owners that know nothing about baseball, but they're just millionaires.
And they're
Why
just like,
is that so funny?
what is so funny about all this?
Dude, that term inside baseball, I used it.
Oh, yeah.
You know what the term inside baseball means, right?
Yeah.
It just literally means the equivalent of an inside joke, but like a business term kind of.
Yeah.
And I use that term while
was so
speaking at youth group because we're running the youth group now at church, and I'm like talking about Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. For whatever reason, I just say refer to something as inside baseball, and I see all the kids go like already. Half the time the kids are like. And I'm like, I don't know if they care about being here.
Yeah.
I have to not think about that.
then-
Or kids are like, I'm like, okay, good. You're the one I'm focusing on because you seem to get it. And then afterward, it's not that they're just nodding their head.
They're just pretending to agree.
Yeah. But in that moment, all of them go like, their faces just like smush, and then they like look at each other like.
You could feel it. You could feel it in the room because I'm like sitting with the kids, and it was just like, boom.
Yeah, because usually I already have this constant state of like, I don't know if what I'm doing matters, But in that moment, I knew that like that made no
sense to anybody.
And so I
And
tried to
because
explain
I
it.
tried to
I tried to
explain
explain it, and I think they understood what I was trying to say, but they're just like, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard." And I was like, Probably. That's
where
fine.
did our church find this guy?
Yeah, yeah. Like, and I was like, is it really that crazy of a thing to say?
We had
Like,
a meeting
inside
afterwards.
base. Yeah, we did. It was rough. The whole elders involvement. It was bad. Yeah, they're like, you can never say anything like that again. No, it was.
Do not bring
funny.
up sports. This is church.
Yeah, don't
is
bring
church.
up. Why did you think Chad left? No,
Why do you think Chad left?
our old pastor. That is absolutely not why he
The
left. No.
first 2 times that I came to Creekside, he was preaching on some big shot that Damian Lillard had. Both times.
Not preaching on the shot.
No,
It
He
was.
talked-
he literally would be talking about that the entire time, referencing back to it the entire time.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
pulling, like extrapolating from that. Like,
Using it as an illustration is what you're saying.
yes, but it would only be that thing. Would
As
be
his illustration.
constantly coming back to the entire time.
There's a difference though between even constantly using one thing as an illustration and saying he's
Preaching on
preaching on that. Like,
I mean, it kind of felt that way, to be
Well,
honest.
I don't think he would appreciate that.
Okay.
The joke is just that the reason I said that that's why he left the church, which is not true. It's
No,
just
it's not
because
true. It's
Chad, I think he exemplified it well. Chad would often use sports references, so we would joke with him about that. Like Matt often uses Costco references.
Yes.
So Matt's equivalent to basketball here is that he always talks about his time spending or
gonna-
working at Costco.
He's going to try to get the church to start meeting at Costco.
He's like, see what I mean? You can see how it's like the gospel. Yeah.
Everybody has to have a membership in order to come to the church. That's how we do our membership things.
Oh,
You
a
have to be a
Costco
part
membership?
of
Not
Costco.
a church
Yeah,
membership.
Yeah.
Like, are you a member of the church? I was thinking, no. Are you a Costco member?
Are you a Costco member?
Executive or basic? Business?
Back row.
Literally in James where it talks about like, do not give favorable seating or whatever to the rich man. It's like, well, we're not. It's just if they're anybody could be an executive member of
Anyone
Costco. You know, it
could
just
be
costs a little bit of money.
Yeah.
No, you mentioned earlier sports and your love for sports and that you get to coach now. I'm curious, like, what do you find to be rewarding then about coaching? Like you said, you love it. Like you love coaching.
Yeah. The growth of the kids. Seeing them improve from like day 1 to day whatever.
Right.
Is great. Also for basketball, we do Upward Basketball.
Okay. What's that?
Which it's local. It's out in Salem. And it's a Christian basketball.
Oh,
league.
sweet. That's awesome.
So practice is like an hour. So you go for 30 minutes and then you have a break time, a devotional.
Nice.
And then you continue on your practice before every game. The teams, coaches, refs kneel down in the center court, pray before the game.
Wow. I didn't know that was going on. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I knew
There's
about
also-
Upward, but I didn't know how integrated like
Yeah.
Christianity was inside.
Yeah,
of it.
there's also flag football as well. I haven't dove into that. I don't know exactly how that works, but I would assume it's very similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's super cool, super
So
rewarding.
do you coach with Upward? Is that where you're a coach for? Okay. I
Yeah.
just misunderstood that. Sorry. That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a cool experience, like opportunity. You know, you mentioned that. So like, I guess any sort of youth ministry, right? That's one of the most rewarding things is that you get to be a part of seeing these kids grow, right? And be
Yeah.
a part of that. It's got to be cool too, though, in a very tactile way to see like another way that they're growing. Like if they're getting better at basketball and they're improving, because that is such a cool opportunity that you have that, for example, like I don't necessarily have. Like if I'm leading youth group, I will hopefully see that growth, but you also get to use that as an example to be like, to kind of shift, you know, from a ministry perspective, talk about like the growth that they've had and gotten better at basketball and talk
And
about.
it's cool too because my dad and I coach together. We
Oh,
coach-
there you go.
Oh,
So
that's very cool.
yeah, my dad and I coach my youngest daughter. This will be our last year coaching her, and then we're passing her off to my mother-in-law and my wife. And then we'll be taking my son, who will be in kindergarten, and we'll start coaching him.
Nice.
So it's a full family
That's
thing
cool.
every Saturday for soccer or basketball, either one. But yeah, so you know, after practice, we'll be like, you know, I think this person's starting to grasp what we're talking about.
Nice.
You know, not just about the game, but you know, biblically.
Yeah.
And then they do a full gospel presentation for one of the devotions during practice, and the parents are involved in that, so they get to come.
Nice.
Like we go into another room, watch a video. Parents are there. The parents can ask questions. The kids can ask questions, and then we pray, and then we talk. My dad will talk to each kid and parent individually.
Wow. That's awesome.
As I'm doing something else in practice. So yeah, it's it's really cool, really rewarding.
Yeah. I would imagine, what an impactful
And
ministry.
then also like my dad and I are just planting the seed, watering the seed. Who knows down the road what's going to happen with that seed?
Are there a lot of like unbelieving families that are a part of it, or is it mostly Christian based families?
I think it's mostly Christian based.
Okay.
But we have had some that don't go to church, don't believe, things like that. But it's hard to answer really.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they just send out a thing and it's like, hey, registration's coming up. We're only taking 700 kids this year.
Yeah. That's a lot of kids.
Well, they go K through 6, and it's boys and girls.
Okay.
So like you have kindergarten, and that's co-ed. And then you have like first and second grade boys, first and second grade girls, third, fourth grade boys, third, fourth grade girls.
Then.
So
there's a bunch of different
leagues and churches and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's so cool though. What a cool opportunity to minister to kids in like a very specific way.
Yeah.
And knowing that like there's an opportunity for parents to get involved too. Like I think, we've talked about this with youth group. Youth group can often be a great doorway for adults actually getting involved in churches, right? Like it's very common for them to send their kids to a youth group so that their kids have something to be a part of.
It's
and
a daycare sometimes.
Sometimes a daycare,
like
yeah.
VBS. We used to,
100%.
over on the coast, that's what VBS was because it was like during daytime.
Yeah.
And it was free VBS.
Yep.
Parents are working. They're like, I don't have to pay the babysitter for
a week.
2 hours for a week. They can just go there.
Yeah. No, it's great. And I mean, VBSs can be great for literal daycares. Like we have someone in our family who ran a daycare, and then she would take the kids to the VBSs at the churches she does, awesome. Right? Like it's a great opportunity for her to be doing ministry and stuff. But I think we've talked about how like youth group is like you get kids to be there, and sometimes parents, even if they're not Christians, will be like, yeah, this is just good for you because you're around other teenagers and stuff too.
It's a social thing.
Yeah,
kids can
it's a safe social environment.
Don't take this wrong, but a lot of time homeschoolers who don't have that social aspect.
Yeah. I'm not going to take that wrong.
They struggle with it,
Yeah.
So youth group is just a way to get out and to be social.
Yeah, Perry and I have talked about that a lot, like how someday for our kids, because we want to probably homeschool them, and we don't know how long we will, but that's the plan. But then, it's about, because that stereotype about homeschoolers or whatever, often, it's because maybe that homeschooler just hasn't been in enough social environments, but even sometimes when they are. But when people, because you'll say, yeah, I'm going to homeschool my children. People are like, so you hate them because they're never going to have friends. You're like, no, I mean,
exactly.
It just, no, it's just like, obviously that just means that we then have to obviously find places for them to have social engagement. But honestly, if you're already living your life like the believer is called to live, you don't have to worry about that, because it's like we are already called to separate ourselves to some extent, right? To not be like so involved in these worldly social things already. Like we should be there and we should be living like Christ and to exemplify him to people, but also like our social home, right, should already be in the church. So it's like if you're living that way already, your kids are going to be, they're going to have friends. They're going to have people that they're around because they're going to be going to church, and they're going to have people like in their life, So I think it's kind of funny when people say that. It's like, yeah, I guess if you have nowhere that you're socializing, then maybe that's true.
Yeah.
But youth group, yeah.
And homeschools come a long ways, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
There was a kid in my oldest daughter's class for a little bit who was homeschooled before, or homeschooled during COVID, I think is what it was.
Oh,
and we
right.
were talking to him, and they actually had homeschool groups. So once a week, they can go to this certain area, and the kids can learn from kids. The kids can learn from somebody else. Whatever. And then they're still socializing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was never homeschooled. Okay.
Yeah.
I was never homeschooled, so I don't know.
Yeah,
if it was like that before. But
it's called a homeschool co-op group, and we would meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I think. And then at one year it was like just one day of the week. Or something like that. But yeah, the point was, you do your normal work, and then that's a day where you kind of, for us as kids, we saw it as like we get to experience school kind of.
Yeah.
Because you go, you have a class, then you have another class, and then you have lunch, and you have 2 more classes or whatever, and it was an all day thing, just like school would be. And then you have projects that you're working on, and you're coming back to do them there. And so, yeah, no, that's definitely a thing. And I appreciated that growing up. some families just don't do it, and I think that's fine too. We ended up stopping when I was in like 7th grade. I think we stopped doing that. But often they're at churches. You know, it was actually at our church that the homeschool call group was. So, but yeah, no, those are great opportunities. But no, yeah, I mean, often youth group can, you know, be the doorway even for adults to become saved, which is really, really cool. And so that's, I think, totally the same, right? Probably even more if parents are regularly like attending games and things like that. Because youth group, it's not like the events every week. The parents are there.
No.
But, you know, often families will end up at that church because of how the kid has been impacted. But like,
And the parents get to see their kid like praying with everybody else. You know?
Yeah.
that's super cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How
And
rewarding.
One of the cool things too about it is after every game, each kid gets a star, and they're different colors based. Like there's like offense, defense, effort, sportsmanship, and then Christ-like.
That's
so
cool.
like my daughter, like every game, she was like, "I want the Christ-like star, Daddy. I want the Christ-like star."
That's sweet.
And I'm like, you can't be the only one. Like we gotta,
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's really cool too because the kids like for example, my daughter, she's like, this is the only star I want.
That's cool.
You know, so like they'll pick out their favorite star and try to get that one star.
Yeah. No, you're good. Raising her well. That's
Yeah.
great. What an encouraging thing to hear a kid be like, I don't care about the other ones. I want the Christ-like star.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
be known as
That's
Christ-like.
incredible.
Yeah.
Dude, in that way, we should be more like her.
Right.
Yeah.
Every day, it's like, I should want to be remembered for having been Christ-like. I don't need to be remembered for anything else. I should want to have been remembered as being Christ-like today.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's sweet. So growing up or just, I mean, getting to the point where you are today, right? You're involved in ministry. And obviously it sounds right like that is a lifestyle that is founded in the gospel. But leading to that today, who are some of the people that you would credit God having used to reach you with the gospel in your life?
My mom and dad are a big one.
Yeah.
I know I mentioned this before, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you mentioned it today, but my dad's the pastor of our church. So he was going through schooling, going through seminary while I was, in elementary school.
Oh yeah.
So, he was a big one because he was, I think, a little bit like he used my questions that I would ask as a way so he could figure out how he wants to teach others.
Oh, that's cool.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Your dad's listening to this like, not at all.
Yeah, I was gonna say he'll probably let me know that I'm wrong. But no, so yeah, definitely my mom and dad, they started taking me to church about 7 months before I was born. I would say 9, but I was 5 weeks early. So, so about 7 months before I was born, I started attending church.
5 weeks early, you say?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. I was small. I was only 7 pounds 10 ounces.
Oh my goodness. That's fun.
But yeah, no, definitely my mom and dad. I remember we were doing a class, I think it was my 8th grade year. Our science portion was on evolution. And my teacher was a Christian. She knew I was. She came to me and she's like, "Hey, I just want you to know I don't believe any of this. I just have to teach it." And I had a question on some homework. One of the few times I ever did homework. And I went to my mom for help, and she's like, "Well, the answer, this is what the answer is, but here's what we believe." And like, she would like open up the Bible and like point to it and everything. And I was like, "Mom, I went to you because I didn't want a sermon." That's why I didn't go to dad.
Wow. She's like, this is my time. I finally get a chance to.
Good mom though.
Yeah.
Yeah, great
I mean,
mom.
looking back on it.
Oh, yeah.
It was great and I appreciate it. But
yeah.
at the time,
But
I'm
that's
like,
hilarious.
Stop.
Yeah. When you're a kid or a teenager or whatever, it's like, no, I get it. That's funny. So wait, did you go to public school then?
Yes.
Just like the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay. Was that difficult?
So growing up, like in Texas where we lived, wasn't super difficult.
No.
I actually remember my 4th grade year. Yeah, 4th grade year. We were getting ready to take our big state testing, and the teacher walked out. Some of us had the idea of like praying beforehand in school, so we all got in a big circle. We were holding hands, and our teacher we hadn't started yet, and our teacher comes up and she's like, "Wait for me, guys, wait for me," and like runs to the circle to pray with us.
Oh, that's sweet.
So that was super cool.
Yeah.
You definitely would not see anything like that.
Yeah, no, she's fired
Here.
now.
No, she's actually like something in the district.
Yeah. He was just saying in Oregon. You
Yeah, in
wouldn't see
Oregon,
it.
you would not see that.
No.
At all.
Yeah. Perry works in the school district, and she's told me about, I mean, like, you basically I think you're allowed, like, if a kid asks you a question,
Yeah.
You
kind
can,
of.
You can,
but like even what you've told
respond,
me,
but you can't like expand on it unless like you can just give like short responses.
you still have to be
directly.
really careful, even in being like, yes, I am one. Like, if a kid says something, you can't then. You can't offer that you are a Christian. It's like they have to ask you, are you?
They have to ask you, are you a
Yes.
Christian? And you can't go,
That's
and
it.
I think you should be too.
Well, yeah, absolutely not.
Like,
that,
no,
but like,
but like anything that can be seen as anything
Yeah.
like that.
it's very interesting.
Way back in the day when I was in 5th grade, many years ago, my mom was helping out with like a reading program for a 4th grader, and the teacher was a Christian. Found out my mom was a Christian and pastor's wife and everything, and he pulls her aside and goes, "Feel free to bring up God, talk about God anytime you want." He goes,
Oh, wow.
As a volunteer, you can do that." He goes, "I'm not allowed to at all unless the kids bring it up."
That's cool.
So yeah,
What a great. I mean, like, great Christian witness though. That for that
Yeah.
guy to be like,
Yeah.
hey, you can. So please, you know,
Yeah,
like, go
please
for it.
do, because I
Yeah.
can't.
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like your parents have been a great influence on you.
Oh, 100%.
That's so cool. I love that story. Your mom being like, Mom, I didn't want to sermon.
I did not want to serve.
I wonder, I would be curious to ask your parents if it was difficult for them then. Like, because I guess growing up, maybe you wouldn't have considered it, but like for them, especially if your dad's like going through seminary and stuff, knowing that you're in the public school system. But I guess it's a different place entirely. I'm just kind of thinking it from the context of here, like how poorly I think of the public school system.
Like when I first moved into town, not Salem, but over on the coast where I used to live, people found out that I went to church, and I got made fun of for it.
Yeah.
And I even got made fun of for going to church by somebody who went to church with me.
That's
rough.
terrible.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just
He's like, I can't believe you go to that church. Like, you go to shut up. No, I don't.
shut up. I'm cool. I need to, yeah.
I
No,
need this. I need this.
But yeah, no, it was definitely difficult. Lot of pressure to, especially like junior high school, to, constantly, hey, I got a party. You want to come with me?
Oh, yeah.
That kind of stuff. Hey, let's go smoke weed, whatever. Never did any of that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, definitely it was hard here, but in Texas, but I was also younger.
Yeah.
We moved when I had just finished 4th grade. Wasn't that hard there.
Yeah.
Now, if I kept it up there, would it have been? Possibly. But it's hard to tell.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I would just be interested how, if, like, because it's just like that kind of stuff is stuff I'm thinking more about now, right? Obviously, with a baby on
definitely.
the way. It's like,
Yeah.
what kind of things, it would make me nervous, but I know things are even worse now.
Yeah.
But
well,
like,
that's
and
part
where
of
we
the
live.
reason.
Yeah.
Oh, for us, it's 100% where we live. That's part of the reason why we send our kids to private school.
Yeah.
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 So,
And I'm sure that that's a sacrifice. Like,
it is.
like I know for my parents, very difficult for them to do that, like,
Same for mine.
and
Yeah.
that's an honorable thing to do, like for your kids, especially because it's something so cool. It's like you're not only taking your kids and being like, we're going to avoid the negative influence here, you're replacing it with godly influence, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like that's so much better than just avoiding it, and it's something that I really value that I've had. Just thinking back on it, being like, because when I've talked to people that went to public school and going like, yeah, back in my Bible class, and they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, every day I went to a Bible class. And they're
Yeah.
like, why?
You
Like, well,
didn't go to class on how to roll a joint?
yeah. It's yeah. I'm like, no, definitely not. Instead, we were in the Word,
Yeah.
and just like some of the simple things I think back on now, like that I'm so grateful that our Bible teacher had us do. Like every year he'd have us do a test on memorizing the books of the Bible. And so because of that, at least to some extent, I can like find my way through it. Right.
I'll have to send you this video of this guy who he does like a rap for the Bible.
Oh no.
And it's like it's great.
Oh, it's
actually.
good?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like Genesis. He starts out and he goes like through all the books of the Bible and like one or two words of what they're about.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to send it
Yeah,
to
I'll
us.
just send it to you.
That is
pretty cool.
Yeah, I would just every year, it's the beginning of the year, Mr. Garvey would be like, all right, it's Bible, books of the Bible quiz time. It's the third week of the school year,
Yeah.
whatever, So at the end of the week, you need to be able to, he'll give us a sheet and you need to be able to put them on in order. It's just a bunch of blanks. And so I would that whole week at home just listen to this guy sing it. It was just a song of this guy with just an acoustic guitar, and he would just sing Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and just sing through them. Yeah. And so then I would be sitting there and it's totally quiet in that room and I'm like,
There were more than just you doing that.
Yeah. But I just felt like everybody can hear me.
And then
Jerry
basically
Jerry.
there would be a part where we would all
I'll be like,
I don't remember the next one.
Jerry's giving everybody the answer.
yeah, I'm just singing really
out
quietly.
loud.
Yeah. But things like that, are really simple things, but things that now I look back on, I'm like, man, I'm so glad I had a Christian education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are the types of things that like can even be replicated in homeschool, of course, too. And that's something that we've talked a lot about, like depending on which direction we go with that someday. What I did learn though, and I know I can apply from that Christian education even to homeschooling, is like every day we should be talking to our kids about the Bible.
Oh,
and
definitely.
like what your mom did, being like, yeah, this is what the world says. And I think that's a cool example too of like, not only did she say, yeah, that's what the world says, but this is what we believe. Mm-hmm. She also didn't shy away from saying what the world says, because I think sometimes Christian parents will be like, I'm not even going to talk about it. Let's just talk about this. I think the focus should be on what is true, but also, shying away from saying that, yes, people do believe this, and talking about why it's wrong and that you will encounter it. Because when that's avoided, sometimes I think kids will get to the point where they're like, oh, like they feel like they're learning something that they've never heard before, but everyone else knows. And when you feel like you're in that situation, it's kind of like, you just instinctively think I'm being lied to. Like
Yeah.
I'm being kept like a secret, this thing that everybody knows that I should know. And then kids are kind of drawn to it and they want to turn away. So like, what a great example for your mom to set, being like, no, I'm going to talk to you about what this says. And also like, you need to do well in school and everything, do your homework, but this is what matters. Like, that's great.
Yeah. You kind of, you do in a way need to, I'm going to hesitate to use the word teach, because I don't mean it like that, but teach what the world says.
Yeah. What to watch out for, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to be like, you want to, in the same way, I mean, to use maybe a more intense example, like you want to be somewhat familiar with your enemy, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to know what to expect.
Because like nowadays there are so many people that are like, oh, I'm deconstructing my faith.
Yeah.
Because like I found out that this is what it really is.
Yeah.
And because they weren't ever told, like, these are some of the things that you should look out for. Like, this is true, and this is why these things are not true.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and, kids, and I'm going to, use my kids, or even you guys. Well, not necessarily you, because you're not a necessarily a good example, and you'll understand why. But go to a private school and then go to a public college, because I know you went to GCU, which is a Christian college.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it
why-
didn't feel that way.
Really?
No.
okay.
At all.
From what I heard, I don't know if I would call it that. But.
Oh,
Like, it was wild.
It's supposed to be a Christian college.
There you go.
I even see commercials for it, and it's like, Christian college. So I didn't.
Maybe
like-
it's different.
Like,
It might be different now. I don't know, but not going and not knowing. That's why I was like, maybe not for you. But you have the kids that are private schooled, grown up in church and everything. They get out of the house.
Yeah.
They go off to college, and it's a whole different experience. They're seeing things they've never even heard of.
Yeah.
They're seeing things that they're doing things that they've never even thought they would do, and that part of that goes back to the home life. Because the parents aren't like, so when you leave, there's going to be this thing called alcohol. Don't, you want to stray, teaching the wrongs with that. There's going to be this thing called, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Here's why. You know, so that's why a lot of times when kids leave the house, they not only leave the house, but they leave the church.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And part of it too is it's because parents teach the rules of the church, the rules of God, not the relationship with God.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, I think because then the kids kind of associate it with as if it's like their strict religious parents' house rules that they finally escaped. When instead you want to teach like what Jesus says, if you love me, then you will follow my commandments. Like we are grateful and so humbled by what Christ has done for us that we want to serve him, right? So teaching a kid to have that relationship. Like Matt said something to me one time where it's like when you're in a good relationship with someone, like you start wanting the things they want, right? I think he might have just said that in a sermon. I don't remember. But like if you're in a good relationship with God, you just start wanting the things he wants.
You're like the 5 closest people you hang out with.
Yeah. Exactly. So have all 5 of them be Jesus.
And then you'll be 5 times as perfect.
No. Oh, as you currently are?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
You were saying 5 times as perfect as Jesus.
No.
No.
Definitely not.
No.
Let's clarify that.
Yeah.
Cut it.
No, that's That's very true. There's whole deconstruction thing. Go ahead.
Oh, I think it's also really important with that whole thing is that you're teaching them like these are the rules that have been set by God, and then these are all the examples from the Bible, and you can use it in like anecdotally as well of why those are good rules. So then when you come across the rules that are like, that's weird, I don't understand why God would say, hey, don't do that. You can point back to these are all the other things that people didn't see why until it was too late.
Yeah.
And then you probably will want to listen to God when it doesn't make sense to you currently because he's always right and perfect and good. And he's looking out for you in the long haul.
Yeah.
Like, even though it might be rough now to not partake in these things or hang out with these people or like, you know, whatever X, Y, and Z is.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
Like,
yeah, showing them that like the reason God has said things is because he knows what's best. Like, even if it's difficult. Yeah, that whole the deconstruction thing I've been seeing a lot too, kind of just in the same vein of like not like kids feeling like they were lied to, even if they weren't. It's just that like they weren't told things because parents will sometimes think like, I don't want to give them ammo to push them away because this might seem bad. Like one of the things that I see a lot, and I've been seeing on this YouTube channel recently of these people talking about how they are walking away from Christianity, but they kind of believe that a God exists, but it must not be the God described in the Bible. This whole thing is because they're like, well, at one point Christians were promoting slavery. Like that's a huge one, especially in America, like because slavery, like such a hot button issue, all that stuff. And it's like this one person was saying like, my dad would like never talk to me about that. And if I ever asked him when I was a teenager, like I'm hearing this at school, like Christians, that he would just say like, those are lies. That's lies. Christians would never do that. You know, like, instead of saying like, just because a Christian did something wrong, that doesn't mean that's what Jesus wants, right? Like Jesus does not want this to be the case. Like this is not what sets a Christ-like example. So people claiming to be Christians and doing something wrong doesn't therefore mean that that's what Christ is preaching. And like, I'm not asking you to believe in Christianity. I'm instead asking you to believe in Christ, right? Like I don't believe in American Christianity. I believe in what Christ has done, right? And so if American Christianity, what's being called Christianity, ever becomes something, well, in some ways it has, right? But like if it becomes something that is not Christ-like, then it's like, well, then that's, you know, like we don't associate with that, right? We just are Christ followers. And I think sometimes like kids can feel like they were lied to, even though that's not it. Like sometimes parents just in their best efforts feel like I'm protecting you by not telling you that this happened or whatever. Like, but I don't know. It's interesting because I feel like I see that one a lot. I've been seeing a lot on YouTube, just people talking about like why they deconstructed. And often it comes back to either slavery or something else that self-proclaiming Christians have done that now they're like, well, that's obviously wrong. And so Christianity must be false. Like it all must be false. You know, the Bible must be false just because these people did this thing.
And a lot of those types of ideas and like desires to prove Christianity false comes from they have some sin in their life that they want to be able to partake in.
Oh yeah.
That.
So they're looking for a reason.
So
to
they're
just
looking for
say
a reason to say that's
apart.
wrong, so I don't have to listen to that part of my conscience, and I can go about.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah. Well, that's great. I'm glad to hear like that your parents, like were good parents, like led you closer and closer to the Lord. Like that's what we should all aspire to be. And that's a great answer. You know, we've asked people this question or similar questions, and often they've talked about like youth pastors and stuff, but it sounds like, I mean, your dad growing up was a pastor, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if he was a youth pastor, was he?
No, he's like the
always been
senior
the lead
pastor.
senior pastor.
Well, he was a children's pastor, you know, while you were a child.
right.
There you go. Yeah, using your questions.
Using me.
Yeah. But no, like, so it makes sense, but that's really cool. I mean, also often you have kids that grew up and their dads were pastors, and some of those kids just were like sick of being around it and like being involved in ministry. And it's cool to see that like you are involved in ministry, and part of why it seems is because your dad has kind of partnered with you in that.
Yeah.
You know, that's so cool. Yeah. I think that's great.
He's the reason I sing on our praise team every Sunday.
There you go. That's awesome.
They needed a male voice for practice, and I was like, all right, just for practice. Like, I don't want to. Practice is not ended after like 10 years or so.
Can you practice on Sunday too? You're like, well, there's gonna be a lot of people there.
Isn't there going to be a lot of people
Just practice.
there for the
Just practice.
Just practice.
It's just practice.
Why would they need just for practice need a male voice, but not for...
Because they had one, but he wasn't able to make it to practice for whatever reason.
Oh, so they wanted to be able to practice like with the same sounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
I'm
just
not a
knew
music
that he
guy,
was going to
so-
leave eventually. So
They set you up?
He, knowing my dad, he probably did.
Oh, really? That's a good dad. That's a good dad. He's tricking you into getting into ministry. Great. To leading in ministry.
Well,
No.
I will say, like, when I was in Texas, we had this thing called Royal Ambassadors.
Yeah.
And it seems, if I'm remembering correctly, almost like a Christian Boy Scout.
Oh,
in a
yeah,
way.
yeah. Okay. I knew I'd
So-
heard of it. I
yeah.
can't remember what it was.
Yeah, so we went to camp and we did these things, and I still remember, I don't know how old I was, but the pastor like got up and he preached and he goes, okay, if I'm gonna name different ministries, and if God feels, or if you feel like God is calling you into that ministry, I want you to come forward. And then once I go through it all, I'm gonna pray over you guys. And he started out like, pastor, youth pastor, whatever. And he got to music ministry, and I felt God's calling. And so then I went forward. And now here I am,
Oh, that's cool.
music ministry.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's super cool. I mean, I remember being in a similar situation when I was like towards the older end of youth group, and my youth pastor talking about like people wanting to be in youth ministry someday or in ministry. And I remember going up to him afterward and telling him that I wanted to, and then not doing it. And now here I am. It's cool to see how God does bring things like that full circle.
Yeah.
And for a long time, me being like, I definitely shouldn't be, and that's really cool. All right. We've gone pretty long.
yep.
So before we go, we have a tradition. Even though you've been on before, Brice, you have to do it again. Tell us a joke.
I gave the best joke ever, and I don't get enough credit for it, so I don't think I should have to do this.
I don't get enough credit for it. Yeah, I'm going to be honest, and I'm sorry. I don't even remember what
I
your joke
don't even
was.
remember.
It's been too long.
Oh, so let's go for it again. What's the first sport ever mentioned in the Bible?
Oh, yeah.
The first sport ever mentioned in
Yeah,
the Bible?
I remember
Does it
it
have
now.
something to do with
I
Cain and
remember it
Abel?
No,
No.
it's
No?
before that.
It's even before that. It's literally the first words.
What?
What's the first few words of the Bible?
In the beginning?
Okay, baseball. In the
Yeah,
big
in
inning.
the beginning.
If you want me to tell a different one, I will.
Yeah, please.
That's really good. Go for it. Go for it. That's actually really good. I don't remember that, but you're right. It is good. You don't get enough credit.
So, preface, my dad yelled at me last time. I didn't give him credit for it, and that was actually his joke.
What's your dad's name?
Todd.
Todd. Good joke. You deserve the credit. Whoever you got that joke from, though, maybe they deserve the credit.
Maybe they do.
Unless it's a Todd original.
It could be.
There's
no.
I don't know, maybe.
Because I had heard it.
Okay,
Unless it came from Todd in Texas, like
Yeah.
coming over to.
Who knows? This one's from him too, and this one will be good for you.
Oh, good, good.
How does a parent get their child's attention?
Cash.
Sit down and get comfortable.
Because that's when they start screaming.
Yep. That's you can talk to them all you want, and then
And then,
they're gonna
okay.
ignore you. You sit down, you get comfortable. Hey, Dad.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, how I can't wait. All right. Thank you for being here, Brice.
Yeah.
I love it. That was a
Thanks
good
to you. Thanks for
conversation.
Do you have anything that you want to plug? Any like extra minister stuff?
Check out our church's YouTube channel. We post our services there every Sunday.
Cool.
Skyline Baptist Salem. We put them on Facebook. You can follow our Facebook page as well. Same thing. Skyline Baptist Salem.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Great. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, leave us a comment. Let us know. And we love you very much.
Roll the outro.
That's a good one.